Give me a one if you can hear me. Actually, oh, yeah, let me check that way. Yeah, all right, all right. Hold on, mosquitoes. All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K. Started at 1 West on the commanding general, Hannah. Also, remember to check out the radio shows. So you have the Grow Radio, so lucky the Black Watch, which is Monday 2 a.m. Also, the General does a radio show on the Saturday as well, which is 2 a.m. That's our time, UK time. Then we have classes live here in Birmingham, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those is 7 p.m. till 9. So feel free to come on down to those, man, which is 394 Lodge Road, B18 5PW. So come on down to those. And also we have an online class from London, which is Tuesday, 7 p.m. We also have an online class from Manchester, which is Friday, 7 p.m. We also have the radio show on the ends, which is 9 p.m. And then on Saturday, we have the Sabbath service. So we have a busy schedule, man. We got things going on all throughout the week. Also, remember to contact the school and so forth. Also, remember to leave your name so you get recognized for your attendance and so forth. That way, you can become a trooper in the school eventually if you're a brother and so forth. Or you can become a sister in the school and get your name. So what you do is you log in, write down your attendance, contact the school. You can ask your questions and so forth. So any question you got about the Bible, you can ask them, man. Any question you got on topic, off topic, you can ask them, man. And Lord will answer them for you. But we're going to start off in the book of Genesis. No, so we're going to start from the book of Genesis, chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, and when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God, walk before me and be thou perfect. Meaning what? Perfect means be upright, be a righteous man, and so forth. Meaning keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Do the things that God wants you to do. That's how you be perfect. That's how you be upright. That's how you be sincere. If you're breaking God's laws, you ain't upright and you're not sincere. So that's what be thou perfect means. And it says, and I will make my covenant between me and thee. So now the Lord appeared to Abraham and is telling him he's going to make a covenant, meaning an agreement. So he said to Abraham, I'm going to make a covenant between me and thee, meaning between me and you. So that's old English to me and thee. So it says, I will multiply thee exceedingly. And he said, I will multiply thee exceedingly. Now, when you look at how Abraham was multiplied, look at all the children which belong to Abraham, man. The Lord multiplied them exceedingly. All of us children right here, we descendants of who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. At this time, it was just Abraham with no kids. And the Lord's telling him, yo, keep my covenant, and I multiply thee exceedingly. Says, and Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. And Abraham became a father of many nations, man. Abraham became a father of many children. Says, neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram. So this is when you could say Abraham's coming into the truth, right here. And this is why in the I.S.U.P.K, when you come into the truth, what happens? You receive a new name. Now the nasty name you was called in the world, which your earthly parents gave you, which your parents according to the flesh gave you. Once you come in here, you don't use that name no more, man. You get a new name. You get a name which matches your spirit, man. You get a name that you must grow into. You get a name that you must live up to. So then you get a name, man. And now Abraham got a name which was meaningful to what he was about to do. He says, neither shall thy name be any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. So now Abraham's name meant what, a father of a great multitude or whatever, something along them lines, a father of many nations. So Abraham got that name. Why? Based on what? he was going to become? He was going to become a father of many nations. So his name was changed from Abram to Abraham. So once you come into the truth, your name would be changed from whatever it was to something meaningful. Whereas in the world, your parents just give you a name because it sounds nice. It's got a nice ring to it. It's got a nice kick to it. But when you come in here, you receive a new name which is meaningful. So he says, neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. It says, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. So it said, I will make nations of thee. It says, and kings shall come out of thee. Why? Because great men came out of Abraham, man. And this is the Lord saying to Abraham, this is my covenant with you. If you be sincere, if you be perfect, if you be upright. Now let's read on. It says, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant. So now, for everlasting covenant. So now, we would have to find out who was this everlasting covenant with, because what you would find is people say that God's covenant went to all people. People say that, oh, after Christ died, the covenant was passed on to everyone. If once you become a spiritual Israelite, the Arabs then say that the covenant was passed to Muhammad, which is a lie, man. The covenant is the Lord made this an everlasting covenant with Abraham and his seed that shall come after him, man. And which seed came after Abraham? Isaac came after Abraham, man. So the Lord then dealt with Isaac, man. Then after Isaac, it then went down to Jacob. The Lord then dealt with Jacob. And after that, the Lord then dealt with Jacob's 12 sons, who we descend from. So the covenant went down like that, man, to the seed after him. It didn't go to nobody else. Everybody else ain't Abraham's seed. And also in the Bible, it says, take thy only son, Isaac, man. So it didn't go to Ishmael. It lets you know what Ishmael got. Because there's this lie that Ishmael received covenants, promises, and blessings, which is a lie. Now, Ishmael did receive a blessing. He received 12 princes, which is blowing up half the earth today, man. He received 12 princes, which is blowing up half the earth today. That's what he received. But as far as covenants, he didn't receive that, man. Read on, verse 7.
You are.
Genesis chapter 17 and verse 7. Also, any questions, just type them in. Like I said, we'll get to them. That's what we're here for, man. Whether on topic, off topic, that's anything you like. So we're in Genesis chapter 17 and verse 7.
Wait a minute.
Oh. Sure, I can read it. You got it.
Genesis 17 and 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant.
So it says for an everlasting covenant. So he's establishing this covenant for them and the seed after them. Everlasting means forever, meaning it lasts forever. This covenant is going to last forever. Nowhere did it say over us after a certain amount of time, I'm going to pass this covenant onto all men. It didn't say after a certain amount of time, anyone can be a part of this covenant. It didn't say that. It said for an everlasting covenant. Go ahead.
To be a God unto thee.
And I said to Abraham, I'm going to be a God unto thee. Now you do know when Abraham was alive, many nations was on the earth. You had Hamites on the earth. You had all these nations on the earth, man. And the Lord said to Abraham, I'm going to be a God unto thee. He didn't say he's going to be a God unto everybody. He came to Abraham specifically and said, I'm going to be a God unto you and to the children that follow after you, the children that come after you in their seed. And that's us. He didn't say he's going to be a God unto everybody. Because if he did say he's going to be a God unto everybody, he would have went to Ham and Japheth and all of them that was on the face of the earth. But he didn't, because at this time, you had all these nations on the face of the earth. You had the Canaanites, all of them. They was living in our land so much that the land was called the land of Canaan, man, because they was there for all them years. He didn't go see them. He didn't go see the Philistines or none of them. He went to Abraham and said, I'm going to be a God unto thee, meaning I'm going to be a power unto you, man. I'm going to be I'm going to be your shot caller, man. The Lord came to him and said, I'm going to be your shot caller. I'm going to protect you and rule over you. He didn't say that to everybody. Read on.
To be a God unto thee, to thy seed after thee.
And to thy seed after thee. And we would have to see which seed it was talking about. Why? Because Abraham had many kids. So which lineage was the Lord talking about? But as we read on, we'll get to it. Go ahead.
And I will give unto thee and thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger.
Meaning the land wherein where thou art a stranger. Why? Because he didn't know them other nations that was living there. There was a stranger in that land, and the Lord saying, yo, what we're looking at right now, I'm gonna give all this land to you. All this land you're looking at, I'm gonna give it to you. Now, the land that we was given ain't just the little dot that you see on the map, man. Ain't just the little patch of Israel that you see on the land. It's all of it, man. All of it, most of that region belongs to us. But obviously now what happens over time, they move borders, they want to break up this land for these people, they want to smallen it, they want to give these people more landmass. They move the borders every so often, man. They move the landmarks every so often. So what you will see today is just a little bit. You will see that, all right, then you would think Israel is just Jerusalem and the surrounding areas to it. And really, all of it belonged to us, man. Arabia, everything belonged to us that was there, man. All of it belonged to us. Most Middle East, read on.
The land wherein thou art a stranger, or the land of Canaan.
And
For
it's like, some Bibles have a Bible map at the back. So some of them have a Bible map at the back, but some of them are a bit hard to understand. But what you will see is when Moses divided up the land, you'll kind of see where they went, which tribe dwelt where. So from that, you can kind of make out, okay, then, well, that belonged to us, that belonged to us, that belonged to us. But that's another topic in itself. Read on.
for an everlasting possession.
And he gave us for an everlasting possession. Go ahead. Meaning what? That land belongs to us forever. And this is why we going back to that land one day, man. Now we're out of that land for now because of our sins, our behavior, our actions, our disobedience. But the time's coming when we're going to go back to that land. Why? Because that land is an everlasting possession. That land belongs to us forever. No matter who dwells there at the moment, that land still belongs to you. No matter who dwells there, no matter who does what there, that land is still your possession, but you just ain't there at the moment. But the time's coming when we're going to be back in our land, man. The time's coming when we no longer going to be in England. We no longer going to be in the Caribbean. We no longer going to be in North America, Belize, Brazil, and all them places. That's right. The time's coming, man, when we're no longer going to be in Spain, France, Germany, scattered all over the earth. The time's coming when these people is going to be gathered, man, and brought back into their land. Why? Because it's an everlasting possession. Read on.
The land wherein thou art a stranger, or the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, keep my covenant, therefore.
And the Lord said, keep my covenant, man. So the Lord's making a what? An agreement with Abraham that what? They have to do circumcision, man. So he said, keep my covenant. Go ahead.
Thou and thy seed after thee in their generations.
So you and your children after you in their generations. So why in our law, that's why in our law it says your children should be, your son should be circumcised on the 8th day, man. Meaning what? You would go and you would get the foreskin of your penis cut off. Nowadays, I believe to do it with what one of them scalpel things. Yeah. Nowadays, I believe to do it with the scalpel. Is that they still do it with the scalpel? Or a string or something? Yeah, so they put a string on it and they scalpel it off. And then you're left in a bit of pain for a bit. Why? Because you've had your foreskin removed and whatnot. So after that, that area is sensitive. So like after that, it's all sensitive and whatnot. And then over time it heals. So that's what we would have to do. Obviously, on the 8th day, you wouldn't know till you get older. But obviously, people who get circumcised in their adult life, they would notice more. Why? Because they're adults, move out and about. Whereas a child would get circumcised on the 8th day, feel the pain, would bleed and whatnot, then it would heal over time. So that was the covenant that the Lord made with Abraham. And to show that what we've been cast so far off that We was the ones who started circumcision. We was the ones who started circumcision, and now we no longer do that, man. Now we no longer do that. Whereas we was the ones who started it. So now what you will have is most of us is uncircumcised, right? To show how far from our covenant we fell, to show how off the tracks we've gone. So now we just out here wild, not keeping our covenant. But obviously now, obviously, you had to be circumcised on the eighth day. Whereas now we way past the eighth day. Back then you'd be cut off if you wasn't. But Christ died so we can have a second chance. So if you ain't circumcised on the eighth day, guess what? You can be part of the covenant, man. So all these Old Testament Israelites that don't believe in Christ, I guarantee you they wasn't circumcised on the eighth day, man. Because their parents probably was Christians and probably didn't even believe in the Bible. So if they wasn't circumcised on the eighth day, they're cut off by default, man. Them talking about, oh, we don't believe in the New Testament. That means you cut off and you don't believe in anything, man. The whole point of us coming back is what? Understanding the sacrifice that Christ made so we can come back.
That's right.
Like things like that, not being circumcised on the eighth day, he was cut off for. When we read on, you will see he was cut off for those things. Go ahead.
Therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations, this is my covenant which ye shall keep.
So now he's letting them know the covenant which they shall keep. He's letting them know the agreement which the Lord made with Abraham, which he wanted Abraham and his seeds after him to keep. Go ahead.
Between me and you and thy seed after thee, every man child among you shall be circumcised.
Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And this is where being circumcised on the eighth day comes into it. Go ahead. Which lets you know what? The Lord had laws from the get-go, man. Why? Because circumcision was written in the law of Moses.
That's right.
And Abraham predates the law of Moses. And the Lord still gave them this law, man. That what? Circumcising the eighth day. Go ahead.
Come. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
And that was a token that what? You're part of this covenant, man. You cutting off that foreskin shows what? That you was part of this covenant. So now, all these races nowadays, the Hamites, the Arabs, the East Indians, the Muslims, what do they do now? They all get circumcised. Why? Because they're copying what you were supposed to do. Listen, these Hamites didn't get circumcised, man. So lucky, I hold this, but if you can find that one, take me to the one where Jacob made them Hamites get circumcised. But we're going to come back to Genesis 17 a bit. So we're going to go to the first time an African ever knew anything about circumcision in his life. Is it Genesis 34? I'm not sure. Oh shit, I was right. So I lost it.
The whole chapter.
Nah, just actually you can scroll up to a good part you find if you want. You can start wherever. Actually, you can hold on.
First one, you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. When Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, and took her, and lay with her, and defiled her.
He took her and did what?
Defiled her.
Listen, man, these Hamites have always been rapists, man. There's Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Meaning what? She went to go see them Hamite women, man, the daughters of the land. Probably, you know, she's probably the only daughter in her house, full of brothers. Went out to see what's around about her on the land, man. And it says, and when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her, lay with her, and defiled her. Go ahead.
Come. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with the cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out unto the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very rough, because he had wrought folly in Israel,
Hold on, I'm trying to find the part.
in lying with
Go ahead,
Jacob's
I'm just
daughter,
go ahead, I'm just gonna try to find the part.
which thing ought not to be done. And Heber communed with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her to him to wife, and make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take your daughters unto you, and ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you.
And listen, man, they're trying to make agreements, man. They're trying to make covenants where the Lord in Deuteronomy 7 said, yo, don't make no agreement, no covenant with them. What will happen is these heathens will come up to you all nicely, man, saying, yo, give us your daughter, give us your son, and then we can be one. And that's what happens, man. They always do it. Listen, listen, let me let you in on something, man. All these covenants and these agreements with other races did what? Lost King James in them the throne, man. Even though Oliver Cromwell took it, but one of them, when he was meant to go back, he didn't want. He became a Catholic, joined the white man's religion, became Catholic, and then back then, Henry VIII set a decree that what no Catholic should rule, no Catholic should rule or something. So all the interracial mixing that was going on with the royal family, I'm talking the black ones, they was mixing with Edomites and so forth. They was giving their daughters to marry Edomite princes from different countries and so forth, vice versa, and then eventually the queen is on the throne, man. The queen is on the throne. Why? Because of all this interracial mixing, man. They was mixing with. Listen, imagine you're a black king, and then you get married to some Edomite woman, and then used to, and then used to have a daughter. You don't have no sons, so then your daughter gets with an Edomite man, and then them two have a son. One day, the Edomite son is going to sit on the throne, man, meaning that throne began black, and then over time, all the mixing, and then your children mixing, the throne then became what? White, man. White people then reigned on the throne. And this is why we ain't supposed to mix with nobody. This is why in Ezra, it says what? It weakens us, because everything that rightfully belonged to you, you then mix outside of your race, and then it all belongs to them. And then what happens to you? You end up in the ghetto somewhere, man. You end up in the ghetto somewhere. You end up in Handsworth. You end up in Aston. Read on. Actually, let me find the part that one. Is it? Is a. Hold on. Jump to. All right, go down to verse. Actually, read on. Read on. What verse is you at?
10.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
And the land shall be before you, dwell and trade ye therein,
There you go. They're trying to make covenants, man. Dwell and trade therein. Go ahead.
and get you possessions therein. And Shechem said unto his father and unto his brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me I will give.
So this man wanted this Israelite woman. Why? Because Israelite women are beautiful, man. He's used to seeing Hamites all day, and they ain't attractive, man. So then he sees this sister Dinah, which was Jacob's daughter, and he wanted her, man. And he's trying to persuade his brethren and his father that he must have her, this and that. Go ahead.
God, ask me never so much. Okay, ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife.
Go ahead.
And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully and said, because he has defiled Dinah their sister.
So they answered him deceitfully, meaning not truly. They just gave him an answer that he would have wanted, but they didn't mean it. So they were deceitful with it. Go ahead.
And they said unto him, we cannot do this thing to our sister, to one that is uncircumcised.
So they said, yo, we can't give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, man. Letting you know that these Africans was uncircumcised. Uncircumcised also means unclean, means filthy, it means disgusting. So these heathens was uncircumcised. Go ahead.
For that were a reproach unto us.
So now the answer deceitfully. Go ahead.
But in this we will consent unto you, if ye be as we, that every male of you be
So
circumcised.
now he said, all right, then we'll do this. If every male of you be circumcised, so now they're making the Hamites be like them. They're saying, all right, then if all of you be circumcised, read on. We'll get to this.
Then will we give our daughters unto
Then he
you.
said, okay, then if you like be circumcised, then we will give our daughters unto you. I mean, if you follow what we do, then we'll give our daughters unto you. Because prior to this, Hamites didn't know nothing about circumcision, man. So now all these Hamites in Nigeria and Ghana and these places that look down on us from the Caribbean because we ain't circumcised. Like everybody looks down on us because what? We ain't circumcised. So they'll be like, these Caribbean men is uncircumcised and this and that. So they'll laugh. Whereas to us, it's the norm. But they're laughing, not realizing circumcision was originally our fingers part of the covenant with Abraham, man. But like I said, we've lost our way. So we wild now. We're wild now. We no circumcision, no covenants, no laws, no nothing. So everyone looks at us and laughs at us, not realizing these covenants was originally ours. Everybody is only circumcised. Why? Because of us, man. Everything that we do, they follow. Ishmael, Ishmael and the Arabs, they only know about circumcision. Why? Because it was gave to our father Abraham, man. That's the only reason all these nations know about it. And then obviously Ishmael, when he had his 12 princes, he passed it down to them because obviously he was part of. They got circumcised when it was about what 13. But we're gonna go back to that in a bit. But go ahead.
Come. And their words pleased Hammer and Shechem, Hammer's son, and the young men. Okay, and the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city. And
Have we covered the main part? Oh,
no, I didn't get such shit.
so I can say that again.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
It's like commune with the men of the city, saying, these men are peaceable with us, therefore let them dwell in the land and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us to wife, and let us give them our
So
daughters.
now they wanted to take our daughters and give us their daughters. And listen, man, you know the Lord don't want us to be mixing with other races. Go ahead.
Come. Only herein will the men consult unto us, for to dwell with us, to be one people.
And that's how you end up. That's what they done that. So what? You can be one people. So that's how they weaken nations. You weaken your nation by what? Marrying outside of your race. You marrying outside of your race weakens your nation. Because why? Once upon a time, on the throne of England and Scotland was black people. Even before that, it was back and forth. You would have black mixing with whites, whites mixing with blacks. So much that now, when you're doing the research, putting it all together, it's hard to then find out which ones are Israelites and which ones are not because there's mixing so much, man. Mixing so much. This one's a Edomite on their mothers are Edomite. This one, their fathers. It's confusing. Why? Because of all the mixing, man. They're marrying women from Spain and France and all them places, man. And they're all mixing so much now. Queen Elizabeth II is on the throne, man. And they say that she's related to I can't remember which monarch it is on her mother's side or some nonsense. But listen, man, all that mixing weakens nations, and then what's rightfully yours ends up being somebody else's, man. And that's what happens every single time. They want it to be one people, and they knew, okay, then, in order for us not to fall out, how about we give them our daughters, we take their daughters, and then that way you've done put two races together when the Lord didn't want it like that, man. The Lord don't want this one love thing, man. The Lord don't want this one love and everybody gets on. All of that is garbage. Read on.
Come. Only herein will the men consent unto us to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised.
So listen, okay, all you males, be circumcised, man. So then these Hamites got circumcised. Go ahead.
As they are circumcised.
There you go. They said they wanted them to be circumcised as they are circumcised, meaning what? We done circumcision first, man. Why? Because the Lord came to Abraham and told us to do circumcision. We were circumcised before everybody else. Don't let these Arabs laugh at you and whatnot, because everything they're following is what was given to you, man.
That's right.
They're following you, man. But obviously, because we ain't all the way there at the moment, and we've lost our way, people, laugh at us and so forth. Go ahead.
Come, verse 23. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours?
Show what?
Not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours.
Listen, man. They said, "Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours?" Listen, man. Maybe Dr. Dre should have read this, man.
That's right.
Dr. Dre should have read this, because all of his money is that woman's, man.
That's right.
When people are using you for stuff, they will have sex with you because they know they can have sex with you and all your stuff will be theirs. Listen, man. Ask Kanye West, man. All the Kim Kardashian stuff is really his, man. What's Kim Kardashian famous for? For having a sex tape with Ray J, man. Everything that you touch, the heathens benefit from it, and this is why you should stay away from them. These Hamites said, um, as they are circumcised, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours. So they understood, yo, these niggas got riches, man. Maybe if we give them our daughters will benefit, and then that wealth will come back to us. Because why? What will happen? This is what will happen, man. You will give. This is what will happen. You will give your daughter to one of them Hamites, man. This Hamite will get her pregnant, have a son with her. That son's a Hamite. Then that Hamite son will marry a Hamite woman, and all of that wealth which really belongs to us will then go to Hamites, man. That's how it changes. Why? Because you're interracial married when you're not supposed to. And then guess what? Israelites end up with nothing. Meanwhile, everybody else ends up with all the goods, all the riches. And this is why these Hamites understood, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours. So they was trying to deal wisely with us also, man. Read on.
Come. Only let us consent unto them, and they dwell with us.
And they said, let us consent unto them. So they said, all right, then we're going to get circumcised because it will benefit us, because all their cattle will be ours anyway. And then we will get all their daughters. So they said, all right, then let's just do the circumcision and get all them.
And Haman and Sakia, and unto Haman and unto Shechem, his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of the city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore.
And like we said earlier, obviously when you get circumcised in your adult life, you sore and you can't move, man. You're bedbound, man. Like you're bedbound, man. Someone's took a scalpel and cut your foreskin off. So these men on the third day, they were sore, man. They're resting up. Go ahead.
When they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man a sword and came upon the city boldly.
And they took a sword. They used this opportunity. Now it wasn't right. Why? Because murder's wrong. So they used this opportunity to come and kill every man, all them Hamites, man. They took their swords. Why? Because they was defending their sister and they was angry about what happened to their sister. So they took their swords when these men were sore. These Hamites thought, yeah, we're doing this. We're gonna get better. When our rod gets better, we're gonna stick it in all the Jacob's daughters, man. That's what these Hamites thought, man. They thought, yeah, don't worry, we just cut our foreskin and we're gonna stick our rod in all of these Israelite daughters, man. But Levi and Simeon had other ideas, man. So while these men were resting on the third day, thinking, yeah, one more week of this to go, then we're gonna be having sex again. Listen, man, Simeon and Levi, go ahead.
Come. Dinah's brethren took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males.
Did what?
Slew all the males.
They killed all them Hamites, man. Go ahead.
That's right. And slew Haman and Shechem, his sons, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out.
Listen, man, Levi and Simeon, man. Them two dwell together today, man. Go ahead.
Come. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain.
Levi and Simeon is the Haitians and the Dominicans. That's who they are today, man. Go ahead.
And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they had defiled their sister.
And they was angry, man. And you would be angry if someone defiled your sister. So they used the opportunity and slew them Hamites, man. Go ahead.
And took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, and which was in the city, and which was in the field. And all their wealth and all their little ones and all their wives took they
They
captive.
took these Hamites captives, man. They took them captives, which lets you know, man, Levi and Simeon understood something. Levi and Simeon understood races go to war with other races, man. They understood that. Obviously, they took these Hamite wives and their little ones captives. They didn't say, "Oh, these little ones is innocent." They took them captives. Why? Because there was of another race. And when you got taken captive in slavery, why did you get taken captive? Because you was of another race. So every nation understands that religion don't mean nothing, man. Your religion don't mean nothing, but your nationality does. Your nationality determines everything, man. People stereotype you based on your nationality, man. No one cares if you're a Muslim. No one cares if you're a Christian. But they judge you based on your nationality. They do certain things to you based on what race you come from, man. Read on.
Come. And all their wealth and their little ones and their wives took they captive and spoiled even all that was even in the house. And Jacob and Simeon and Levi. So Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "Ye have troubled me to make me a stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and Perizzites, and I being few in number, they shall gather themselves against me and slay me."
So now he was saying, yo, with few in number, you shouldn't have done that. With few in number, there's loads of them, and there's only a few of us. So Jacob saying, damn, they're gonna come and kill me. Go ahead.
I and my house. And they said, "Should he deal with our sister as a harlot?"
And listen, man, these men cared about their sister, man. They said, yo, should they deal with our sister as a harlot? Listen, man, we need to care about our sister when these Chinese men is beating them up in the
That's
shops,
right.
man. Listen, man, if Simeon and Levi seen these sisters getting them kung fu kicks in the Chinese shop, man, they'll be there in a heartbeat, man. Because they love their sisters. But what do we do? What do some black men do when they see sisters being abused? Listen, I seen a video of a sister being grip stopped by a taxi driver, man. The taxi fare was only like £6, and he gripped her up, man, wouldn't let her go. And you had black men there recording it on their phone, man, recording it and not doing nothing about it, man. Supposed to help your sister, man. You tell that man, yo, you're not gonna handle her like that. You know why? Because a black man couldn't handle a white woman like that, man. You think a black man could ever grips up a white woman? No chance, man. It ain't gonna happen. You think a black man could ever grips up an East Indian woman? It ain't gonna happen, man. But then we allow them to grips up our women and say nothing about it. And this is why people always harm our women. Why? Because they know there's going to be no repercussions. These Hamites here thought there was going to be no repercussions, man. And there was repercussions. Listen, man, we need to defend our sisters, man. I see tons of videos where they're getting beaten up in their hair shop. They're getting choked out by the security guard. The thing is this, man, with security, this is what they teach you. If someone's kicking off so much, just let them go. When it comes to black people, they don't let them go, man. They grips them up, they choke them, they put them on the floor, put their knee on their neck, almost choke them half to death. When you don't need to go that far, man. But when it comes to us, that's the lengths that they go. And Simeon and Levi was sick of it, man. They said, "What should we deal with our sister as like she's a slag, man?" That's what they said. Should we deal with our sister like she's a slag? That's what it said in today's terms, man. Like she's a sket, man. They said, "Nah, man, we ain't having it, man." So I'm gonna go back to Genesis chapter 17. Let me go back there. I think it was it. All right, and it says, "And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed, he that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised." So listen, man. Everybody would that was around us, even our slaves, man, they would get circumcised, man. And people's gonna say here, man, if they're circumcised, they're part of the covenant. No, man, this is what it means. When we in our kingdom, just because we can't eat pork, are we gonna let our slaves eat pork? No, man. They're gonna keep the dietary law too, man. These servants that is with us is going to keep the laws too, man. Listen, man. People get real simple. Listen, we don't eat pork, and guess what? Our slaves ain't gonna be eating pork also, man. They're gonna be keeping the laws also. They're gonna be getting circumcised too. They're gonna be keeping the dietary laws too. they're gonna be keeping all the laws too, man. It don't mean we love them. It don't mean they're part of the covenant. Same like what the white man never loved you, but you had to keep what he kept, man. Same like he never loved you, but you had to do what he done. Same like he never loved you, but you have to celebrate Christmas because he does. You have to go to church because he does. It's gonna be the same thing, man. Half the things that you didn't want to do in slavery, you had to do it. Why? Because your slave master wanted it, man. Guess what? In our kingdom, our slaves are going to do what we want them to do, man. It's exactly the same thing. It doesn't mean we love them because the white man shows you every day don't love you, and you still have to get up in the morning and go to work, man. You still have to get up in the morning and go to the job center, even though they don't love you. You still have to do what they do, man. Why? Because they're in power and they tell you what you can do and what you can't do, man. And when we in power, we're gonna operate the same way, man. All of them is going to be getting circumcised, man, whether they like it or not. You're going to be keeping our laws, man. You're going to be eating low for food. The Chinese ain't going to be eating pangolins and them things. They're not going to be eating bats and them things. Why? Because they're going to be keeping the dietary law, man.
That's right.
They're going to be eating chicken and lamb. And guess what? Dogs is just going to be domestic pets, man. A dog is just going to be a pet in that day, man. The dogs don't have to worry about the dog meat factory, man. The dogs ain't gonna have to worry about the dog market, man. The dogs don't have to worry about being taken in the back of a van and carried to Big Wok, man. They don't have to worry about being carried to a Big Wok and Ming Moon and your local Chinese shop. These dogs ain't gonna have to worry about that, man. Why? Because there's gonna be righteous leadership in that day, where the dogs get to roam free, where the dogs don't have to worry about being eaten, man. Where the bats don't have to worry about being eaten. Because righteous leadership is there, man. The bats don't have to worry about and the pangolins and the pigs. They don't have to worry about being eaten, man. Why? Because there's righteous people in leadership, man. So everyone's going to be keeping the dietary laws. So it's he that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. So now, you was meant to be circumcised as an everlasting covenant. But what happens over time? We went into slavery. They stripped these things from us. We lost our way. We became Christians along the way. We became Muslims along the way. We became atheists along the way. So now all of that is gone out the window. So now we do whatever feels good to us. Whereas our parents should have known, circumcise your sons on the 8th day. So listen, remember at the time you're a baby and you don't know nothing about circumcision. So you would have been cut off based off your parents not circumcising you on the 8th day. That's why Christ had to come and give us a second chance, man. Because our parents were what? 7-day Adventists. Our parents were Moors. Our parents were all these kind of things, man. And they weren't circumcising on the 8th day. So all of us coming back now would have been cut off if Christ didn't die and say, all right, then you get a fresh start. Christ didn't say, once you know the truth, you get a fresh start from there, man. All of us would have been cut off. Like you would have found that you should have been circumcised on the 8th day when you're 30 plus. You can't come back and say, well, I didn't know. You would have been cut off, man. You would have been wandering in the wilderness around everybody else who was cut off along like you, man. You wouldn't be dwelling amongst us. You'd just be wandering in the wilderness somewhere. And over time, you would have children out there and you would just be not one of us. And then you would live like a Gentile, kind of like Lion King when Simba went to live around Pumbaa and Timon. He became a Gentile, man. Because he was cut off from what they call the Pride Land. He was living among, he was like even with the Lion King, Simba went from eating like a lion, behaving like a lion, to singing like a bitch. It's like, excuse my French. Simba went from, you see how soft Simba's voice was? Simba went from singing like a bitch, not even walking like a lion no more, man. Simba went from eating slime and slugs. Why? Because Lion King is based off us, man. Lion King is based off us. This is why. What happens? Scar is meant to be what? Esau. Scar is meant to be the Edomite. Mufasa is meant to be the Israelite who gets killed. And then Simba becomes a Gentile, man. Same like us. We leave our covenant and then we join these other nations like what Simba did. And then before you know it, he's friends with a what was it? A warthog. Nice friends with what's Timon?
Meerkat.
Yeah, he's nice friends with a meerkat and a warthog. He became a Gentile, man. And he forgot who he was until what? He went to the water, and what did they say? Look into yourself, look within, remember thyself. And when Simba remembered, oh, Well, I'm supposed to be a king, and then he went back to what he should be doing. Listen, man, all these movies is based off us, down to the Lion King.
That's right.
Simba lost his way, lived amongst the Gentiles, ate slop and slime and all of that nonsense. And then Mufasa had to say, yo, remember thyself. First of all, Mufasa got killed. And then what happened? Scar took over the kingdom. Same like this white man's took over the kingdom. And what happened? The people in the Pride Land said, if you've watched Lion Kings enough times like I have, so that is probably my favorite movie of all time. Listen, I watched the new one in the cinema with my Ruben kids. Listen, really, the kids thought they was going to watch it. Listen, I just wanted to watch that myself. So now, if you notice anything, when Simba took over the Pride Land, there was no food, there was nothing there. It was grey. It was like a ghost town. Nothing was surviving. The skulls everywhere. Kind of like when the white man runs the earth, man.
That's right.
The same thing. He runs the earth, how Scar ran the earth. And then when Simba came back, what happened? The light became better. Everything became green. Go ahead.
When Scar was running,
You might need the mic. We
So
also
like-
do movie reviews here as well.
It's like I'm bigger liking myself. Also, yeah, Scar was integrating. You know, what I mean, Scar wasn't keeping it holy. Scar was mixing with the hyenas. He wanted some new, what's it called, some new rulership where hyenas and lions rule together,
Right.
and the shit weren't working. Just like today, we're trying to mix with the oppressor, and it just ain't working, man. So like I thought I dropped my 2 pence
Exactly,
on that.
and that's heavy because he was making the hyenas eat before the lions, man. He wanted them to, and what did he say? They're gonna run the kingdom together. That's what Esau does, man. Also, I swear, what's his name is meant to be the Levite. What's his name again? Rafik is meant to be the Levite, man. You see Rafiki with his staff doing all them anointings. Listen, man, they base that off us, man. But they pull it in a cartoon so you wouldn't ever understand it. Like you wouldn't ever see your situation in it. Rafik is meant to be the Levite, man. That's why Rafik is always doing the. That's why in the beginning of the film, what's Rafiki doing? The anointing, man. When he holds Simba up in the air, letting them know this man is going to be the king. And then what did Scar do? Scar had to what? Get rid of Simba in order for him to rule the kingdom, man. Listen, man. It sounds like Scar had to get rid of Mufasa and Simba in order for him to rule the kingdom. It sounds like what Oliver Cromwell done to Charles II to me. Sounds like what Oliver Cromwell done to Charles II, man. Removed him out of the way so he can operate as the king. Really, Oliver Cromwell was never king, but he had all the benefits of a king, but he was never the king. And I'm sure after he died, they dug him up and executed him again, right? Yeah, Oliver Cromwell, they dug him up, they cut his head off, they had his head on a spike. They, I can't remember what they called it back then, but they re-executed him, some kind of nonsense. How do you execute a man once he's dead? So yeah, they lifted his head up, him and 2 others, I believe, executed him again after he was already dead. They dragged him through the streets. Yeah, after a while. And Oliver Cromwell is a distinct relative of Thomas Cromwell. So if you know anything about Thomas Cromwell was a Henry VIII's one of Henry VIII's right hand men. One of the Henry VIII's right hand men who Henry VIII got him beheaded, man. Why? Because Thomas Cromwell catfished Henry VIII, man. Remember when he went to Spain and made the artist draw the picture of a beautiful woman?
Oh, shit.
What was her name now? No, Catherine of Aragon was the first one. Then Catherine of Aragon was the first one. Anne Boleyn was second. Jane Seymour was third. It was the one after Jane Seymour. Because I think that's the one. Anne of Cleves. So Anne of Cleves, I heard she was ugly as hell. But obviously Thomas Cromwell wanted to strengthen relationships. And like we said, people mix races when they want to strengthen relationships. So now Henry VIII, Thomas Cromwell didn't want the French and the British to go to war. So what did he say? If Henry VIII marries her, that will strengthen relationships. So then the woman was ugly. Henry VIII sent, back then, before they had pictures, before you women had filters and all that nonsense, they would send the artist. You would sit down, the artist would draw a picture of you. So he drew the picture of Anne of Cleves, and Thomas Cromwell told the painter, make her beautiful. Make her beautiful so the king will want to marry her, because at this time, Jane Seymour was the love of Henry VIII's life, because she gave him a son, I believe. She gave him, what was his name again? Was it Fitzroy, or was that the unlegitimate one? There was one called Fitzroy. So he draw the picture. Thomas Cromwell said, make her beautiful. So he draw the picture of a beautiful woman. And then Henry VIII seen the picture and said, yo, she's beautiful. And then when Henry VIII seen her in person, he was like, she's ugly, she smells horrible, she's got a big nose. Yeah. And they go, yeah, that's what he said. Go, she's ugly, her features are too big. So then Thomas Cromwell said, yo, you better do something, but I'm not marrying her. So then he married her. And then after a while, he divorced her. And then because he didn't want the relationships to go bad, what did he do? She started to live as the queen's sister. So what Henry VIII used to do, Henry VIII, when he wanted to get rid of wives, he used to find a loophole. Obviously, that's why he broke off from the Catholic Church. But listen, when Henry VIII wanted to get rid of his first wife, was it Anne of Aragon? Catherine of Aragon. He found the scripture in the Bible. He read the Bible and said, well, according to this scripture, this is why we're not having no sons. So he read Leviticus, I believe, is it Leviticus? What's that scripture? Nah, not that one. The one where it says, if you know the scripture, it goes, if someone takes his brother's wife, they shall die childless. So now Henry VIII said, this is why all our children are dying, because of this scripture in the Bible. Because if you know anything about Henry, at first, his first wife was meant to marry his older brother. I can't remember what his name was. She was meant to marry his older brother. His older brother obviously died young. So then she married Henry, and then Henry thought, yo, this woman's not giving me a son. All the kids are dying. Then Henry found that scripture, presented it to the Catholic Church. They wouldn't annul the marriage. So he set up his church with his men, with his clergymen, the Church of England. And then he used that scripture to say, this is why I can't be with her, because she was married to my brother. Even though the brother and her never had sex. So Henry got rid of her. And then obviously over time, he got rid of her. And then he kept marrying these wives. And then after, now jump back to Anne of Cleves. So like I'm off topic. Jump back to Anne of Cleves. So I can say that again. So he got rid of Anne of Cleves now. He wanted to divorce her because he said she was ugly and whatnot. So then, after he divorced her, he had Thomas Cromwell arrested. So back then, when the king would have you arrested, he would take you to the Tower. You would go to the Tower of London. It's still there today. So, so the Tower of London is where they take prisoners. The Tower of London is the same place where Anne Boleyn got beheaded. Obviously, Thomas Cromwell played a big part in Anne Boleyn getting beheaded. So now, Thomas Cromwell got brought to the Tower, and he got done for treason, for lying to the king, and then he got beheaded. And why did he get beheaded? Why? Because in today's terms, Henry VIII was catfished. He made Henry VIII believe this woman was beautiful, and she wasn't really beautiful, man. So sisters, you got to calm down with that makeup, man, because the pictures and the filters, man. Imagine if Henry VIII seen you in a filter, and then he sees you in real life and is not impressed, man. Somebody would get beheaded, man. Because Thomas Cromwell was one of Henry VIII's right hand man. I think he was his best advisor, and he got beheaded, man. All because why? He brought an ugly woman to the king. Imagine that he beheaded him because he brought an ugly woman to the. Listen, man. You think? So catfish has been going on from the time of Henry VIII. But for lucky, I went off topic anyway. Let me read on. Oh, no, that's your history lesson for the day. Let me read on. Says, and my covenant shall be in your flesh, for an everlasting covenant, and the uncircumcised man child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He had broken my covenant. So back then, we would be cut off. Why? Because we would have broke the covenant. Now let's read on. It says, and God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. So now, Sarah had no kids. Why? Because Sarah was barren. So the Lord's telling them what he's about to do. How, obviously, he's going to make Sarah conceive. So now, let's read on. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, meaning in his mind, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? So he was like, how am I going to have a child? I'm 100 years old, man. I'm an old man. So he laughed. So it says, and said, shall a child be born unto that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. So this is when Abraham is basically saying, this is when Abraham is basically saying, pass the covenant onto Ishmael, man. Just let it be with Ishmael, because I'm 100, Sarah's 99 years old. And what did the Lord say? And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him. So listen, man. It says, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him, meaning what? Abraham was opting for, you know what? Just give it to Ishmael, because Ishmael's already here and it's easier. And the Lord said, what? No, man. I ain't giving nothing to Ishmael. You're gonna have a son, and I will establish my covenant with him. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant. And why we descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so that covenant belongs to us forever. That covenant ain't never switched. Ain't never switched to the Arabs. If it would have switched to the Arabs, the Lord would have gave it to the Arabs right here, man. He would have said, okay, let me give it to Ishmael. I'm gonna give it to the Arabs right here. And we got a ton of trolls online. This guy comes on every week. Some twat called Israel Jacob is here. There's some twat online that's got nothing to do with his life. And I'm sure this is the same one last week that I couldn't answer the questions we asked him. Israel Jacob is here 144. I'm sure you couldn't answer the question last week. By the way, Israelites, not black people. Listen, man, this guy's simple, man. I mean, some people are slow learners, but let's read on. Genesis 17 and verse 20. So now Ishmael was Abraham's son. So obviously, Abraham wanted something for Ishmael. So we're going to read on and see what the Lord gave to Ishmael.
And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him.
And it says, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him. So now Ishmael's receiving a blessing. Why? Because the Lord can bless other nations. But if they do get blessed, it don't mean they receive the covenant, man.
That's right.
It just means they get a blessing, which is pretty simple. That's all it means, man. Like Esau was blessed with the sword. Who blessed him with the sword? The Lord, man. Meaning they can get blessings, but just because they get blessings, don't mistake that for the covenant. Go ahead.
Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly.
And blessed him and it will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. Go ahead.
12 princes shall he beget.
So now, this is what his blessing was. 12 princes shall he beget, man. What these Arabs is, you got different tribes of these Arabs, man. Some of them occupied Saudi Arabia. Some of them occupied Dubai, Qatar, all of them places, man. They're all around that region. So that's where they are. You'll find them in all of those places. Why? Because Ishmael got 12 princes. So when you see bombs and things blowing up all over the earth, usually it's them. But obviously, because Elam has took on Ishmael's the religion of the Ishmaelites, they fake like what you will have is Pakistan is fake Arabs, man. They're not even Arabs. Like listen, it hurts my head when I hear people call Elamites Ishmaelites. They're not the same, man. Elam and Ishmael are two different people, man. So the Elamites is who today? The Pakistanis, the East Indians, the Afghanistans. That's who Elam is. And then the Ishmaelites is who? The Arabs. Them ones down there in the Dubai. I believe them Emiratis as well, right? I believe that the Emiratis as well.
Emirates, yeah.
The Emiratis. So that's who your Arabs would be today. The ones in Dubai, the ones in Saudi Arabia, and so forth. Whereas the Pakistanis is Elam. So obviously one day you just want to separate the two, because a lot of people believe that Pakistan is Ishmael when they're not. A lot of people believe Afghan is Ishmael when they're not. Because Afghanistan was a part of India. So all of them really, the Afghans, the Pakistanis, the Indians, and the Bengalis as well. So lucky the Bengalis too. Their religion is supposed to be Hinduism. They're supposed to be Sikhs and Hindus. But obviously, because they wasn't getting along, and then obviously what happened, the white man went and split their land. He looked at our old map when he split India and Pakistan. He looked at our old map and he didn't even do the research. He just split it down the middle, said, all right, that's for the Pakistanis, that's for the Indians. So over time, we begin to know them as two different races. Because why? What happens when the nation fights and becomes divided? They want to venture off into their own place. The other ones want to go into their own place. So they split it down the middle, and they became two different countries. So now Pakistanis and Indians don't like each other, not realizing that they're the same race of people. But because of politics and religion and the white man, after he gave them their independence, he then split their land in two. So now India and Pakistan have become two different lands. They split it before that for Afghanistan. So now that land is all broken up when really all of them lived on that landmass. So this man comes and does what? Splits up everyone's lands, gives you this part. Like there's certain new countries which have popped up new. Like from I believe Belgium's a new country as well. I believe Belgium's a new country. Like tons of countries. Was it like if you look at old maps, like if you look at old maps, what you will see in old maps is it's every so often it's good to look at different maps from different years because you'll find the map from 100 years ago doesn't have as much countries as the newer maps. Because what happens, people have civil wars, and then they break up the land, and then they name it this, and that land becomes that. Then after World War One and World War Two, a few new countries was created, man, and that's how they create countries. And now Ishmael, that's like you read on.
Come, I will make him a great nation, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac.
And now he's letting him know again. All right, then I'll make him a great nation, but my covenant I will establish with Isaac, letting him know that Isaac is the one man. Meaning I'm going through Isaac. I know Ishmael's there. Ishmael's gonna have 12 princes that's gonna blow themselves up and everyone else up. But my covenant will be established with Isaac. Read on.
Which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year.
So now she was due to have this set time in the next year. Go ahead.
And he left off talking with him.
Actually, you can drop that now. Jump to Genesis chapter 26 and verse 1. So now we're in the book of Genesis chapter 26 and verse 1. So now we're going to show you the Most High further confirming his covenant with Isaac like he did with Abraham. Go ahead.
Genesis 26 and 1. And there was a famine in the land besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham and Isaac.
So now there's a famine in the land, man. Like you have famines when what? It doesn't rain for a bit. When it doesn't rain for a bit, so you have a famine in the land. Because why? Things need to grow. Whereas if in England, if it ain't rain for a bit, your grass ain't even green no more. Your grass in your garden changes like a dry color. So when there's a famine in the land, your crops can't grow, your fruits can't grow. Nothing can grow because you need it to rain. So when there's no rain, there's a famine. Go ahead.
Slakia. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said.
So the Philistines is who today? The Africans, man. I believe Goliath was a Philistine.
That's
today.
right.
That's Egyptians, right?
Yeah, break off.
A breakup from Egyptians.
Yeah.
Like a family, like a breakup family from the Egyptians, I believe. So that's who the Philistines are today. But obviously, if you went to Egypt today, you probably wouldn't see no real Egyptians there. Who's there now? Is it Arabs?
Arabs. Correct.
So now you'll see Arabs there, faking like they're Egyptians. Now they call themselves Egyptians because they live in the land of Egypt, but they're not Egyptians. They're not sons of Mizraim, basically. They just live in the landmass. Go ahead.
Go not into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of.
So now the Lord saying, don't go to Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Go ahead.
Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and thy seed I will give thee countries, and I will perform.
So it goes to thee and thy seed. I will give all these countries. The Lord is letting him know what is going to give him, man. All this landmass, all this big landmass, man. One day, if I could get the map of it, I'll see if I can bring it in, man. One day, I'll see if I can bring it in, man. And then we can look at the landmass of how big the land originally was, so you realize it's not just this little patch that they show on the map today that you can barely see. You have to squint your eyes to see. That's why they gave half of the land to other people that didn't deserve the land, man. Go ahead.
I will bless thee, for unto thee and thy seed I will give thee all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham.
And he's speaking to Isaac, saying, I'll perform the oath which I swore unto Abraham. And what oath did he swear unto Abraham? That he's making a covenant with him, man. That this covenant is for Abraham and his seed after him. Go ahead.
Thy father, I will make thy seed multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all nations of the earth be blessed.
Listen, man. We the chosen, man. We the chosen ones of the Lord. Not because we've done anything great. Why? Because we sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. So before you call your father a deadbeat, man, just always remember your father is the reason why you're part of this covenant, man. Always remember that. If anyone should be mad at their father, it should be Edomites, man. Be mad at your father, man. These Edomites, man. They ain't part of the covenant. These Ishmaelites should be mad at their father, man. Whereas we chosen, man. Every day you were ready to curse your father out and say he's a deadbeat, this and that. Just remember how much of a so-called deadbeat he is. You're part of the Lord's covenant, man. You're part of the Lord's covenant, and the Lord and Christ came for you, man. Always remember that. Just always remember your life could be worse, man. But you're one of the chosen ones of the Lord, man. Be grateful for one thing. Be grateful for that at least, man. Don't be ungrateful, man. Read on.
Come. Sakya, because that Abraham obeyed my voice.
Abraham obeyed the Lord's voice. The Lord gave Abraham an order, circumcision, this and that. And what did Abraham do? Circumcise all his males that was with him, circumcise them. He obeyed the Most High's voice, meaning he listened, man. How do you obey the Most High's voice today? By listening to the I.S.U.P.K, who are his priests and prophets on the earth, man. Who is his mouthpiece, his spokesman on the earth. We ain't just sitting here doing class because we want to. This is the words of the Lord we're speaking, man. We ain't just sitting here doing class we want to. We could be sitting in Nando's right now, man. Eating Nando's, eating Toros, doing whatever, man. But we here doing what? Speaking the words of the Lord, man. This is our duty. This is the oath that we took. This is the oath that we took, man. Go ahead.
Come. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge and my commandments, my statutes and my laws.
There you go. Showing that the Lord had laws from the beginning, man. Because right here it says, Abraham kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, which lets you know the Lord had laws before it was written down, man. Before it was written down, the law of Moses, before you had it written down. The reason you had it written down, why? Because you was in Egypt for so much years and you done lost your way, man. So it had to be written down. And that's why you have a written copy today, whereas back then it was just orally passed down. Your father would tell his son, this son would tell his son, and then we would pass it down traditionally like that, man. Like in the Caribbean, we got certain laws that ain't written down, man, but we know them.
That's
Why? Based on living with our parents and our grandparents for so long, man. We know that what? Sunday you have your rice and peas, man. That's something that doesn't need to be written down for us, man. You don't need to write that nowhere. We understand on Sunday you have your rice and peas. We know you marinate your meat and you leave it overnight. We know you marinate it and leave it overnight. Put some cling film on it and put it in the fridge. No one had to write down that law for us. Traditionally and orally, that was just passed down to us. But we was in Egypt for so. But now we've lived amongst white people so long, we might need to write these laws down. That you have your rice and peas on Sunday. Yes, like
we know that like sexual deviancy is wrong, man. You
exactly.
just know that. You know what I mean?
Like in the Caribbean, your parents didn't have to read a book to you about homosexuality being wrong. Orally, you would know, yo, this is wrong. Your father would tell you it's wrong. Like we know our tradition, we know not to speak to police. No one's had to write that down for us. We just know by default. You don't speak to the police. We know that by default. Whereas no one had to write that down for us. But over time, we went in Egypt and we lost our way, and then it had to be written down. So that's why you had the law of Moses written down. Whereas people make it like we had no laws before that. Of course we did, man. How else do you not think Levi and Simeon knew that their daughter shouldn't be with no Hamite? How else do you think they knew that, man? How else do you think they knew that? Why? Because they had laws, man. Cain and Abel had laws. How else do you think Abel knew what to sacrifice, man? How else did Abel know what animals he must sacrifice? Why? Because they had laws, man. But obviously, if you read it like a Christian, you won't ever grasp the Bible. Like what you do is you live your whole life forever learning and never able to come to the truth, man. Never ever ever. You live your life like what's his name? You live your life like Israelite Jacob is here 144, man. Trying to understand stuff in the Bible that you'll never understand, man. You'll live your life like this, like this clown on the comment board that just can't understand it, man. You'll be like him trying to break things down that you don't understand, man. Lord, the live one comes to the I.S.U.P.K, man. Read on. So you don't be like Jacob is here 144. So, okay.
God. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar, and the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said,
Actually, yeah, I think that's the only part I needed was the Lord confirming his covenant with Isaac. Right, from there we can go to Genesis chapter 32. So we're gonna go to Genesis chapter 32 and 24. And so like you also remember we got Monday coming up, the feast day, man. Trumpets, we got the feast of trumpets. Then the week after that, the following week, after that on the Wednesday, we have the Day of Atonement. Also remember that I'll give you the dates for that as well. Because it came around quick this year. It seems like the last Day of Atonement was like 2 weeks ago, isn't it? It's coming up. I believe it's what date? What date is the Wednesday? Hold on, let me find the date right now. Let me and it's the 15th. So it's the 15th of September. And then after that we have Tabernacles, where there's I believe that's like the week later, where there's a feast at the start of it, a feast at the end of it. So there's ton of those, man, ton of those coming up. But remember, the 6th of September, we in the school, man, 394 Lodge Road. Yeah, yeah. So what happens is you go a while without a feast day, then the rest of them come back to back. Then the memorial ones is like February. I believe the next one's usually about what December. Then after that, it's Passover again. So yeah, it's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, and also everyone start saving up your money for the Passover, man. We're gonna be flying out, man. We're gonna be flying out to America, man. What do they call it? The Big Apple. We're flying out to the Big Apple. That's what they call it, the Big Apple. We're gonna be flying out to the Lord's Passover. What was it gonna be? The 53rd.
Yeah.
We're gonna be flying out to the Lord's 53rd annual Passover, man. So start saving your money from now. Usually the prices range. The earlier you book it, the cheaper it is, man. So what we're doing is we're waiting on the announcement from Commanding General YAHANNA to put out the date. Usually you get the date around what, December? Usually get the date around December times. So then we'll book our flights and then we'll go from there. Lord allow the whole UK can go there this year. We can go there. All of us from the UK, man, experience the brotherhood. You can see brothers that you only see on YouTube. And then listen, man, I'm telling you, I can't wait to get out there. But what verse we at now? Yeah, Genesis 32 and 24.
Genesis 32 and 24. And Jacob was left home, and there he wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
So now, Jacob wrestled with an angel, man. Meaning them that him and that angel went back and forth, man. The fighting, Jacob's got him in that headlock. This man's trying to leave. Jacob ain't letting him, man. Jacob's wrestling. Go ahead.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh.
So now when the angel saw that, Jacob's stronger than he looks and he's not prevailing against him, he touched a part of his thigh, man, and the bone came out of place. And guess what? That bone came out of place, and Jacob still was fighting, man. Listen, man, the same way Jacob wrestled with this angel, you better wrestle with them demons, man.
That's
even
right.
Even if you feel like you're losing to them demons, you better still wrestle with them demons. Imagine Jacob's bone come out of place and he not once gave up the fight, man. Listen, man, you feel like them demons is telling you to smoke and do this and do that. You don't give up that fight, man. You better wrestle with them demons as Jacob wrestled with the angel, man. Jacob was in some uncomfortable positions. His thigh came out, his thigh bone came out of place, meaning he was hurt. You might be hurt, man. You might feel like them demons is winning, but what? You don't let them demons win, man. You keep fighting them demons and wrestle with them demons, like Jacob wrestled with the angel.
And the hollow
Like with that, Jacob didn't come out of that situation unscathed, man. That angel was fighting back, and Jacob kept fighting, man. Say like you need to keep fighting. Them demons is fighting back, man. Them demons is what? Fighting you, hoping that you give up, man. They're fighting you, hoping that you give up. And when they see they're not prevailing against you, they're gonna fight harder. And their aim is to prevail against you. And you're meant to keep fighting to prevail against them, man. Keep fighting them demons. Go ahead.
And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint.
So now he pulled his thigh out of joint, man. Imagine that he touched his thigh and the bone come out of place. Go ahead.
And he wrestled with him, and he said, "Let me go, for the day breaketh."
And he wrestled, and Jacob man letting him go, man. Go ahead.
And he said, "I will not let thee go, except thou bless me."
And Jacob fought for that blessing, man. You want a blessing for the Lord from the Lord, you better fight for that blessing.
That's right.
Man. You better fight them demons so the Lord sees it worthy to give you a blessing. Jacob could have gave up and not received nothing. Jacob said, "I'm gonna keep fighting until I receive a blessing, man." That's how we need to be. Keep fighting, man. What we need to do is provoke the Lord to move, man. Provoke the Lord to come and get us from this horrible situation that we're in. Jacob kept on fighting, man. Go ahead.
And he said unto him, "What is thy name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Thy name shall be called no more Jacob.
And he what?
Thy name shall be no more called Jacob."
So now this is when Jacob name is changing. His name was originally called Jacob. Now, the reason I'm getting you this scripture, why? Because Jacob was a man. Israel is a man. You being an Israelite have nothing to do with the landmass that you live in. So now, those people that live in Israel today think they're Israelites because they live in the land. When Jacob is a man, and by you being an Israelite means you're a descendant of this man. So no matter where you live, man, it doesn't make a difference. No matter where you live, as long as you're from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that would make you an Israelite, man.
That's right.
You could live on the moon somewhere, you're still an Israelite, man. Why? Because you're from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That's right.
Go ahead.
But Israel, for as a prince thou hast had, okay, for as a prince hast thou power with God.
For what?
For as a prince hast thou power with God.
So it says, for as a prince thou hast power with God, man. And listen, man, Israel means what? Prince of the power. Israel means prince of the power, man. And that's what we are. We princes of the power. But obviously, we don't behave like it, though. We don't behave like it. Why? Because we've been programmed to hate one another. We've been programmed to kill one another. When really, we princes of the power, man. You don't see princes killing each other.
That's right.
You don't see princes harming each other. You don't see Prince Harry killing Prince William. You don't see that. You don't see Prince William killing Prince Andrew and Prince Charles killing Prince Philip. You don't see that. They love one another, man, because they understand that all princes and they're better than everybody else. And the thing is, they ain't even real princes. We the real princes of the
That's
world,
right.
and we better than everybody else. So we need to stick together because it's dumb how we're killing each other. Go ahead.
For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed.
And there you go. He prevailed, man, and he got a reward for prevailing. Go ahead.
And Jacob asked him and said, "Tell me, I pray thee, thy name." And he said,
Actually, that's all I needed for that part. All I needed for that part was to was to show no matter where you are, as long as you descend, that Israel's a man. Because most people think Israel is just a landmass. Israel is a man. In the Hebrew, it's Yasha Allah, and it means Prince of the Power. And that's who we are, man. That's who we are. Give me Exodus chapter 1, verse 1.
Exodus 1 and 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt.
So now, these are the children of Israel which came into Egypt. These same children of Israel which came into Egypt is the same children which was conquered by the Spanish, conquered by the French, conquered by the British. These same children that came into Egypt, these are the children of Israel, and we the children of Israel, and Israel was a man. So we that same man's children who went into captivity, like these brothers right here, but at this time, they didn't go into slavery, they just went down there because of a famine. Go ahead.
Which came into Egypt, every man and his household came with Jacob.
So all these men came with Jacob. Go ahead.
Reuben, Simeon.
And Reuben is what the Seminole Indians, right? So today, Reuben is the Seminole Indians. That Israelites' wife, they descend from a man called Israel. Go ahead.
Simeon.
Simeon is the Dominicans' wife, because they descend from a man called Israel. Go ahead.
Levi.
Levi is the Haitians' wife, because they descend from a man called Israel.
Judah.
Judah is what? The Americans' wife, because they descend from a man called Israel.
Dan. Sorry, Issachar.
Issachar is the Mexicans, because they descend from a man called Israel. Go ahead.
Zebulun.
Zebulun is who? Guatemalans. It's Guatemalans. All right, Zebulun is the Guatemalans. Go ahead.
And Benjamin.
Benjamin is what? The people from the Caribbean islands, man. Jamaica, Trinidad, all over that region. I believe Guadeloupe as well, right?
God.
Guadeloupe. What's the next one? Dominica, not Dominican Republic, Dominica. And those kind of regions. Go ahead.
Dan.
Obviously Dan morphed off into, I believe it's Issachar and is it Manasseh?
Yeah, Manasseh.
Issachar and Manasseh. So obviously, because Dan had loads of daughters, Dan doesn't stand out as a tribe today. So Dan is around, but you don't see Dan because he had loads of daughters, so they don't stand out as a tribe today. So Dan would be morphed in with Manasseh, or is it or the Puerto Ricans. So that's who Dan would be. The Puerto Ricans is who? Ephraim, yeah, it would be morphed in with Ephraim and Manasseh. Go ahead.
And Naphtali.
Naphtali is Argentinians.
God.
Argentina to Chile. Say that again. Is that the same? So yeah, the Naphtali is Argentina to Chile, which is where? South America. Go ahead.
And Gad.
Gad is the Native American Indians who really occupied America. Go ahead.
And Asher.
And Asher is Colombia to Uruguay. Yeah, it's Brazil as well, but because Brazil's in between, so that would be Colombia, Uruguay, Peru. Is it Nicaragua as well? Chile. Nah, that's Naphtali.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's who would be the tribes today. So all these people once was slaves in Egypt. All those people he named was once slaves in Egypt, man. And then lo and behold, the slaves were in Great Britain, man. Slaves were in Spain, in France, in the Caribbean. Slaves all over the British Empire, man. We slaves all over these white men's empires, and they belittle us and they kill us and they harm us, and we're not allowed to speak about it. Read on.
And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob was 70 souls.
So now all the loins of Jacob was 70 souls. So 70 Israelites walked into Egypt, man. Go ahead.
For Joseph was in Egypt already.
So Joseph was in Egypt already. Why? Because Joseph was sold by his brothers, man. Joseph was sold by his brothers into Egypt. I believe he was sold to some Arabs that sold him to the Egyptians.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was sold to the Ishmaelites, who then sold him into Egypt. And he was in Egypt so long that obviously he learned a lot there, like even like the language and so forth. So much that he rose up to be one underneath the king and whatnot. And then he's seen his brothers and he didn't belittle them. He made sure they got the best of everything. So much that he was so smart that that he outsmarted the Egyptians, that they would sell him their land, their cattle. And then guess what? In order for them to eat, what did they have to do? Work for Joseph, man. In order for them to survive, they have to do what? The slaves to Joseph, man. Imagine there's a famine and you're running low on money and Joseph's got all the corn. So you say, you know what? Take my cattle for some corn. Eventually that corn's gonna run out, man. And you ain't got no cattle. So and your cattle is what made you money. So how are you gonna survive? You have to work for the man that has all the money and the cattle. So yeah, you have to work for the man that has all the stuff, man. So they ended up working for Joseph, man. Because Joseph was a businessman. And Joseph was smart, man, and he ruled over them. And obviously, after Joseph died, what happened? After Joseph died, what happened? We became, and after all that generation died, we became familiar with them. We started to be around them Egyptians. And then before you know it, everything that Joseph set up no longer existed, man. The Egyptians took back over, started ruling over us, started oppressing us. And then, yep, until the Lord came and got us. So now we're going to jump to, for time's sake, we're going to go to Exodus chapter 3 and verse 6. Also, any questions, just type them in and we'll get to them.
Exodus 3 and 6. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham.
So now, he said, moreover, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That's possessive pronouns, man. He said, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He didn't say he's the God of everybody. He's letting you know who he's the God of, man. Listen, man, it's like me saying, I'm the father of him, and him. Don't be trying to bring some other kids to me that ain't mine. You trying to bring the Ishmaelites in, they ain't God's kids, man. You trying to bring the white men in, they ain't God's kids, man. Listen, man. The Maury show would determine that this that God ain't their father, man.
That's right.
The Maury show would determine that God ain't the white man's father, man. He ain't the Arab man's father. He ain't the Chinese man's father. He's telling you who he's the God of right here, man. We're gonna read it one more time so you can see who he's the God of, because he ain't the God of everybody.
Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham,
God of Abraham, a black man. Go ahead.
the God of
A
Isaac,
black man. Go ahead.
the God of
A
Jacob.
black man. Go on.
And Moses hid his face, and he was afraid to look upon God.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said, I have surely seen.
And there Moses didn't physically see God. Moses was speaking to an angel from Moses' first sight of any dealings with the Lord was what? The burning bush. The burning bush where we had to say to you, yeah, Moses was high. Moses was high.
Oh.
Listen, that's a lie, man. That's the dumbest thing ever. It didn't say Moses was smoking the bush. Don't say that in the scripture. It says he appeared to Moses in a burning bush. So the bush was burning to get Moses' attention. Moses went to the bush. And then obviously it's an angel of the Lord there that was speaking to him. Listen, Moses wasn't high. Moses didn't roll up a spliff and smoke cannabis. All of that is a drug addict's version of the Bible. That's a weed head's version of the Bible. Go ahead.
So, okay. And I have seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by the reason of their taskmasters. For I know their sorrows, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians.
And it's come down to do what?
Deliver them out of the hands of the Egyptians.
And it came down to deliver them out of the hands of the Egyptians, man. Why? Because what was the Egyptians doing? Oppressing them, beating them, abusing them. And the Lord came to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians because they needed it, man. They needed to be delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. The Egyptians is abusing them, battering them, and forcing them to work. And the Lord seen all the abuse. And the Lord sees all the abuse today, man. The Lord sees all the abuse that we experience today, man. Every last one of it, man. The Lord sees the abuse we experience from the French, from the Dutch, the British, the Spanish. The Lord sees all the abuse, man. He sees all the oppression. He sees that we ain't happy the way we live in.
That's right.
He sees that we are oppressed and we're hurt and we're downtrodden and we feel like giving up and we can't wait for this to be over. The Lord sees it, man. And we need to pray and so the Lord, so our cries reach up to heaven, man. That's what we need to do. Make our cries reach up to heaven, man. Go ahead.
Come. By reason of their
And
taskmasters.
they was oppressing us, man. Imagine a man's got you working sun up to sundown, beating you back, abusing you. Read on.
For I know their sorrows, and
Listen, the Lord knows our sorrows, man. You think the Lord don't see how we living, how we can barely get a job, how we can barely survive, how we can barely make ends meet, how we doing everything to survive, man. How we out here catching hell every single day. The Lord sees our sorrows, man. You think the listen, you can act like to us everything's okay, but the Lord sees you behind closed doors when you're depressed, when you're behind on the rent, when there's no food in the house. The Lord sees all that, man. Obviously, you can act like everything's fine, but we know, like black people come to us and make out like their life's so great, and we see the pain in your eyes, man.
That's
We
right.
know that your life ain't so great. How do we know your life ain't so great? Why? Because we black men just like you, man. We black men just like you. You ain't gotta lie to us. Go ahead.
And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians.
Why? Because we was in the hand of the Egyptians, meaning what? If you're in someone's hand, they dictate what you do, where you go. They're in control over your life. And the Lord came to deliver us. Why? Because he didn't want the Egyptians to have control over our life, man. He didn't want us to behave like the Egyptians, do what the Egyptians did. And if you know anything about the Lord, every time he delivers us, what does he do? He destroys the people he's delivering us from. You
That's
know
right.
why? Because these other nations is so used to slaves that they don't want to give you up freely. I mean, people, you think that Jesus Christ is going to come down and say, okay, let them go now. Enough's enough. It ain't going to work like that, man. They're going to fight to keep their slaves. They're going to fight to keep their slaves, man. And that's why the Lord has to destroy them, because they ain't going to give us up freely, man. You know.
Come. And to bring them up out of the land unto a good land.
And to bring us up out of that land to a good land. And we deserve to go to a good land, man. We deserve to go to a land where what? A place where no white people dwell, man.
That's right.
A place where no Arabs dwell. We need a land which is strictly for us, where we have what? Our armed forces on the borders, man. Same like how the white man does it, has his armed forces on the borders, making sure only who he wants to come into the country can come in. We need that, man. And guess what? We don't want our oppressors to come in, man. They're gonna need a permit to go anywhere. Same like we had to have a permit if we wanted to go anywhere. Imagine in slavery, if you wanted to visit your family on the next plantation, you would have to have a letter from your slave master. So the slave catchers, when they would see you, they'll be like, okay, this man's got a pass, go on. If you didn't have that pass, listen, man, it was problems for you. So some people used to forge the letter and whatnot. Used to forge the pass. Imagine that. You're a grown man, a grown woman, and you can't go where you want to go, man. Because some man's telling you, you belong to me. You live on this plantation. Imagine his life. His life is a life of luxury. His life is a life of living good. And when it comes to your life is based on his orders. He's your shot caller. He decides how long you can be out for, how long you can see your family for. Listen, man, we need to be freed from this slavery that we're in. And the Lord seen our sorrows, and the Lord came and destroyed them Egyptians, man. And when we say, oh, God loves everybody, that's a lie, man. When we see God came for everybody, that's a lie. Like, listen, man, they always tell us we should love everybody, and everybody's abusing us, man.
That's right.
Everybody's abusing us. That's like you telling a woman, imagine a woman, she's being abused and molested and harmed, and you tell her she should love her abuser. Everyone would look at you like, are you crazy? She should love her abuser. And then when she says she's running away from her abuser, you tell her that it's hatred, that she's spreading hate. Listen, man, she's tired of being abused. She don't want to be abused no more, man. That's like us. This devil's been abusing us for all these years, and we're tired of being abused. And you tell us it's hate when we try to separate from our abuser, man.
That's right.
It doesn't make no sense. We've been abused for over 400 years, and we're trying to not be abused no more, man. I mean, how is that hatred? We've been abused for all these years, and we're trying to not be abused no more. And you're mad at us because we want to separate from our abuser, man. And they tell us, are you spreading hatred? They call the cops on us, man. Listen, man. Imagine if a woman's being abused and she runs away and you call the cops. The cops is supposed to arrest the abuser, man. When you people call the cops, them cops is supposed to go and arrest the white man that's oppressing us, man.
That's right.
Instead, they want to come and give us problems. You're meant to give him the problems, man. He's the criminal. We the victim, and we're running for our life, man. But no, it doesn't work that way. You know.
Come. And to bring them up into a land, unto a good land and a large, unto a land floweth with milk and honey,
And he said he's going to bring us up to a land which flows with milk and honey, man. Go ahead.
and
Meaning, milk and honey, it doesn't literally mean you're going to have full fat milk, the blue lid milk there. It doesn't literally mean you're going to have the blue lid milk and the green lid milk just falling from a waterfall. It doesn't mean that, man. Milk and honey was like rich things back then. So the land of milk and honey just means you're gonna have the best of everything, the best land to grow your crops, the best cattle, the most fertile land where things is produced and so forth. So we would have all of those things. So it's letting us know that's all the land of milk and honey is. It doesn't mean you're gonna be swimming in honey. It doesn't mean you're gonna go outside and honey's falling from the sky and you're gonna be sticky, covered in honey and milk and so forth. That's Christianity. That is. That's a Christian man's heaven to be covered in milk. That's a Christian man's heaven to just be covered in milk. It sounds gay to me. So lucky, read on.
gone unto the place of the Canaanites and Hittites and Amorites and Perizzites and
Why?
Hivites.
Because they was in our land, so we was to go there, and then over time, we would kick them out of the land. Over time, we would kick them out of the land. So it wouldn't happen in a day, but over time, each by the months, we was meant to be there, do what we were supposed to do. Then the time would come when all the nations would get kicked out of the land. But what did we do? We went there and we mingled with them. Like it tells you in the book of Judges, we went there and we mingled with the heathen. So the Lord's telling us, oh, this is going to deliver us. And then when He did deliver us, what did we do? Want to serve the Canaanites' God, want to serve the Hittites' God, want to serve the Amorites and the Perizzites' God. That's what we did, man. Read on.
And the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me.
So back then we understood life shouldn't be the way it is. But nowadays in 2021, we make out like life is the way it is. We make out like slavery is the way it is. We make out like, this is just our life and, we just want to get by. We just want to go work our 9 to 5. We just want to go do our job and go home. And this is life for us when this was never meant to be life for us, man. You deserve to be free, man. Like, imagine we tell black people you deserve to be free, and they're looking at us like we're crazy, man. Listen, you deserve to be free. You have the right to be a free man, man. Why should you pick everybody's cotton? Why should you be dead by the time you're 25, man? You deserve a fair chance at life like everybody else, man. You deserve it, but no one gives you a fair chance at life. And the Lord seeing you cry, man. The Lord seeing your children dead in the streets. The Lord seeing you strung out on drugs, man. The Lord seeing you smoking mamba and all them things, man. The Lord seeing you with a needle in your arm. Your cry has gone up to heaven, man. And if we keep crying to the Lord, our cry is going to go up to heaven. But as long as we be here making out, don't worry, everything's fine, then we're going to be here for a lot longer, man, until we all realize we're slaves. They have you thinking that you're not a slave, and then you think you're a free man, and you just believe, well, if you work hard, you can have anything in life. And that's a lie, man. And this is why your grandma used to give you this saying, you have to work twice. If you're black, you have to work twice as hard. Which means what? You have to put in twice the effort the white man does. Which already isn't fair. So you mean to say, based on the color of your skin, you have to work twice as hard. Meanwhile, this man gets the management position and he's lazy, man. You don't get the management position and you're working twice as hard. Listen, man, we need to wake up and smell the coffee, man. We've been asleep for way too long. We've been oppressed for way too long. And we don't even know it, man.
Carl, the cry of the children of Israel is come up unto me, and I have seen the oppression wherewith.
Wait, you seen the what?
Oppression
And
wherewith.
listen, man, the Lord seeing the oppression and black people is oppressed. Look at how we're living. I mean, do we just take drugs because it tastes nice? Do we just sit lean because it tastes nice? No, man. We got PTSD and we're living a horrible life, and we see drugs as the only way out, man. We are oppressed by this white man, and drugs seems to be our only option. If you ain't got the truth, what will you do? Drugs. You do weed, and then you'll go from weed to a harder drug. Then you'll go from that drug to another harder drug, and we just keep going around in circles, taking different kind of drugs, man. Different kind of drugs. That's what we keep on doing, man. The Lord said, "I've seen the oppression," and right now you think the Lord don't see the oppression. You think the Lord don't see the oppression that we're dealing with in jail. Imagine this. A black man's 9 times more likely to be stopped, man. That's oppression, man. Which means I'm 9 times more likely to get killed by the police. That's oppression. They said black people are more likely to be tasered by the police. That's oppression. Black people receive longer sentences. That's oppression. Black people don't really sit at the top in much jobs. There's not many black judges. That's oppression, man. Uh, uh, um, for a white man to be an MP is 1 in 10,000. For a black man to be an MP is 1 in 1,000,000. That is oppression, man. Once you start looking at the statistics of all these things, you realize the oppression. They're done a study on what if you got a black sounding name, you're less likely to get into Oxford University. If you've got a black sounding name, you're less likely to get called back for the job. If you got a black sounding name, you're deemed as bigger and aggressive. That is oppression, man. These is all the case studies. They've done all these studies and proved these things, man. And listen, man, we've gone over these studies. I don't know where the tape would be right now, but obviously we've gone over these studies previously. Them tapes is probably on YouTube somewhere. Go ahead.
Wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh.
And it says, "Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh." Now, Moses going to Pharaoh is the equivalent to just any black man going to Boris Johnson, man. You think Boris Johnson would listen to you if you say, "Okay, let black people go"? Boris Johnson would say, "Who the hell are you?" Boris Johnson would say, "Let them go." Boris Johnson would say, "I got a charter flight leaving tomorrow." They ain't going nowhere but to that 25 million pound prison that they built in Jamaica. That's the only place Boris Johnson's willing to let you go, man. If you was to be like, "Let my people go," Boris Johnson would say, "Who the hell are you to come to 10 Downing Street with these demands?" Remember, you ain't got no credentials, you know. You're just a nigga. That was Moses in Egypt, man. Moses was like, "Well, who am I to go to Pharaoh?" But read on.
Come, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
Bring forth who?
The children of Israel out of Egypt.
It says, "Bring forth my people, man. The children of Israel out of Egypt." He didn't say, "Bring forth my people, the Egyptians and the Israelites."
That's right.
He said, "Bring forth my people, the children of Israel out of Egypt, man. And we his people, and we his children." Read on.
Come. And Moses said unto God, Who am I?
And Moses said, "Who am I, man?" Meaning Moses was like, "Yo, I'm just a regular nigga, man." And Pharaoh's the man with all the iron chariots. Pharaoh's the man with the military. And I'm just a fugitive on the run. I'm just a nigger on the run, man. Because remember, Moses was on the run that time. Why? Because if you go to Genesis, the 2nd chapter, he killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. So now Moses is a fugitive on the run, and that's why where Moses fled because them Egyptians wanted to kill him. And then when he fled, that's when he seen the burning bush and so forth. Read on.
Come. Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?
So Moses said, "Who am I?" Like Moses saying, "This position might be too big for me. Like, what makes? Who am I that I can do these things?" Go ahead.
Come. And he said, Certainly I will be with thee.
And listen, man. We might not be nobody to the white man, but when the Lord's with us, we're somebody, man.
That's right.
Understand this? When the Lord's with us, we can move mountains, man.
That's
When the Lord's with us, we can go speak to Boris Johnson, man. When the Lord's with us, we can stand in 10 Downing Street and confound everybody, man. I mean, not 10 Downing Street, the House of Parliament, man. We can go there and confound everybody. Why? Because the Lord's with us, man.
That's right.
We can go there and tell them, let our people go, man. Why? Because the Lord is with us. Read on.
Look, yeah. And this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain.
So now where Moses was, it said, "Ye shall serve God upon this mountain." Go ahead.
Verse 13.
Actually, drop that for time's sake. Let's go to. This goes into when Moses asking the Lord a ton of questions, and the Lord saying, "Look, man, I tell them I exist, man. Tell them I am. I tell them I'm who I am." But for time's sake, jump to Deuteronomy 28 and probably 67 or something. So that was slavery in Egypt. So now we're gonna show you slavery in all these lands where we are right now, man.
Deuteronomy 28:67. And in the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
Imagine this slavery, man, that was in the morning. You're thinking about, damn, I wish it was the evening, man. And then if in the evening you wishing it was the morning, imagine you spent your whole life terrified, man. That's what we did. We spent our whole life afraid and terrified of our oppressors. Imagine as a woman, man, in the nighttime, man, you're praying that it's morning. You know why? Because in the nighttime, your slave master would come in your room and rape you, man. You're praying that it's the morning because your slave master would come in your room and rape you. Every little footstep you hear, you're scared to sleep because you're thinking, am I gonna be raped tonight? That's how we lived, man, by the hands of this oppressor. And now you tell us we should love them. No, man, we don't. You know why? Because we remember how they raped our women, man.
That's right.
We remember how they abused our men. We remember those things, man, and we can't forget it, man. We can't forget who we are and where we're coming from. People always say, remember your past, and we're remembering it, man. Yeah, read on.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
And listen, man, in the morning, you'd hope it was evening. You know why? Because you're working on the plantation and the hot sun's beating on your back, and your face is all muzzled so you can't eat the sugar cane, man. Imagine you, your face is all muzzled, you're tired, you want to lie down, but you can't, you have to work, and you've got a target of how much cotton you should pick, and your body's sore from yesterday, and your body's sore from the day before that, and your body's sore from the day before that, and this man still wants you to pick the same amount of cotton like you're fresh. Meanwhile, you're working in the hot sun up to sundown, and you're hungry, you're starving, you're so hungry, you're eating things out of the trash like chicken feet, man. You're so hungry, you're eating things out of the trash like cow tongue. You're so hungry, you're eating things out of the trash like liver and intestines and cow tongue and cow foot, things, chicken beak, chicken back, things that goes in the garbage, man. You're so hungry, you're eating those things, and you tell us we should love everybody and forgive the white man. Not over here, man. I ain't forgiving them over here, man. Every time I see chicken feet, that's the reason why I can't forgive him, man. Every time I see cow tongue, that's why I can't forgive him.
That's right.
Every time I see manish water, that's why I can't forgive him, man.
That's right.
Because this one is a demon that abuses us. Read on.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
And you'd cry and hope it was evening. And in the evening, you're scared to sleep because you don't know if the slave master's going to come and rape you, man. So then you'd wish it was the morning again. Then on the morning, the work's hard work. So you'd wish it was the evening. And your whole life is you stressed and worrying. Your whole life is you oppressed. The Lord's seen you oppressing, man, from all these empires. And all these empires is going to have to pay for oppressing you, man. All these empires is going to be destroyed because they oppress God's chosen people. The same way the Lord destroyed Egypt, man, and Egypt's never been the same since. The Lord's going to destroy all these empires and they're never going to be the same. Read on.
And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
Go ahead.
For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes thou shalt see.
Listen, man, we feared for the sight of our eyes, man. Imagine you see a man getting whipped and cut up, man. There was one man that cut him up and they threw molasses all on him. If you know anything about molasses, it's sweet. They put him in the hot sun, and mosquitoes love molasses, man. And I heard so much mosquitoes was around him, they beat him up until he died, man. Imagine that. You're covered in wounds, you're covered in molasses, and you're tied up, and mosquitoes all sucking your blood, biting you, and there's nothing you can do about it, man. Because this man that rules over us is the devil, man.
That's
it's
right.
The devil the Bible speaks
That's
of, man.
right.
With that brings us to the end of the class. We open the time.
All right, clap it up. I.S.U.P.K security announcement. Where the I.S.U.P.K started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will call each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3 and 8 10. means 10th in the Hebrew, Ma'ashara, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or the teacher. Priest fund, which is not mandatory, whatsoever amount you like to give. Upcoming holy convocations is Monday, the 6th of September, Feast of Trumpets. Or check the bulletin board in the hallway and check all I.S.U.P.K social media. If anyone wants black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and headscarf, with that, I'm Madiam. I'm Madiam Shabbat. I'm Madiam. Rock.